This is the story of a woman with many a name and many different faces. The story of a mother who nurtures our young, who guides our behavior that we might keep chaos at bay. She comes from the earliest of mythologies and shares common attributes throughout the world's great cultures. She is the very source of justice, the wellspring of equity, fairness, peace, and protection. Expressing some of humanity's highest ideals, she embraces all human emotion, often in a most dramatic and theatrical fashion. She is the receptacle of ethical, moral, and practical issues, dealing with conflict and accord, innocence and guilt, punishment and reward. We first met over 20 years ago in Egypt, and since then she has introduced me to her many incarnations, slowly turning the pages of an allegorical family album. Introduced to Ma'at for the first time, one is struck by the prominent white feather, the hieroglyph of truth that graces her headdress, a symbol still to be found today in the lives of North American native Indian tribes. The same feather, 5,000 years later on the other side of the planet, that even the gods themselves are constrained to live by. As Chief Justice, she is always present with her male counterpart Thoth at the weighing of the heart of the deceased, and compared to the harsh commands of later patriarchal gods, Ma'at's policies of goodness to the suffering and justice with no trace of vengeance established notably benevolent laws. On Mount Olympus, Themis reigns as divine justice. Her ancient Greek subjects call her Sotira, or the saving goddess, and the rites of hospitality fall under her protection. With Zeus, she is the mother of the Horai, or the seasons, and somewhat more intimidating, the Morai, or fates, who enforce her jurisdiction. I had much to ask, especially about her role as chief assessor of all humanity, and her powerful position as controller of the Delphic oracle. But seated beside Zeus, advising on the precepts of divine law and the rules of fate, who would dare to interrupt? As the mountain recedes, I hear Themis's voice call out, "Watch out for Nemesis, for none can escape this daughter of the night." Ancient Greek goddess of due proportion, Nemesis even-handedly restores the equilibrium of justice. Floating gracefully in the heavens above Siena is the winged figure of wisdom, Sapientia. In one hand she holds the scriptures, or book of wisdom. In the other, huge scales balanced by the enthroned figure of justice below. In this image, one realizes that justice without wisdom is impossible, for wisdom is concerned with the ultimate good for humanity, and justice is the lawful and the fair. Three Florentine sisters of civil law, each with their unique allegorical story to tell. Headscarf flowing, one carries a book of law and scales. Another holds the traditional sword most untraditionally as a fulcrum, with the globe of affairs of the world balanced against the hook of trade and commerce. The third sister, sword of strength and crown of just rewards in hand, firmly sets herself to the defense of the law. Representing the striving of humanity toward higher civilization, Justitia guards, nourishes, and rewards those who honor her, for she is the constant and perpetual wish to render to everyone their due. Pythagoreans taught that justice and equity are innate attributes of the feminine nature principle, and the Roman praetor, or judge, gave expression to justice as the voice of the feminine godhead, the gladsome light of jurisprudence. Portia clearly illustrates how the bonds of love and friendship unite humanity, where justice merely governs interaction. What men and women do for one another out of the generosity of love far exceeds the commands of justice. Thus mercy and charity are called upon to qualify justice, or even set it aside. Portia insists on the letter of the law, whilst urging us to reflect upon the quality of mercy. For mercy among the virtues is like the moon among the stars. It is the light that hovers above the judgment seat. Peace and justice are two sides of the same coin. With olive branch extended in offerings of peace, she resolutely defends the law. Here is my sister from another era, but time makes no difference. We are one and the same, with a common commitment, law and peace. Conscience, or knowing together, speaks of a divine presence in the human mind. For us all, reflecting in her mirror, conscience walks a narrow path, bordered with flowers and thorns, between the way of an all too easy moral sense and the difficult route of a still and quiet conscience. As she fades from view, she carries that little spark of celestial fire in her breast, and no matter where she goes, even when there is no law, there will always be her conscience. And so the family album closes, tantalizingly incomplete. We are all bound to this family of women who illuminate our lives, who speak to us as one. For we may have met the law, and know it to be us, but we have also met justice, and know it to be she.